If you're wearing, this is an N95, so if you're wearing it for flu or COVID or whatever, you need to be fit tested. If you're wearing it just to avoid smell with the charcoal part, you do not need to be fit tested, and you can wear it multiple times for that purpose. And one of my coworkers test drove this, so it works well with all the masks that we sell so that it won't break the seal. And it comes in a new, this is the regular size, it comes in a new small size. So if you have a really narrow head and you're still smelling with this, then there's a small size available. But the real secret to Paradox, to liking it, is generic empty bags. After you use your wipe, you put it in here and it will trap that odor. If you throw it into an open top trash can, you're gonna smell Paradox forever until it finally dries and the vapor is gone. This will trap that residue, or trap the vapor so you won't smell it. You don't even have to zip it shut. You can just put your wipes in there and then just set it to the side and it will trap that smell in there. And if you're doing the monthly clean, you can even drag a trash bag around with you, put the mops and the wipes and all that down inside, and this will make a huge difference in how much smell you have. You can also, as you were talking about before we turned the camera on, you can also break it down to where you're doing your bins one day and then you're doing the room another day, or you do one room one day and another room another day, so you have less exposure because you're doing less area. So that's all up to your staffing and all that y'all have to decide on, but that's another way to have less smell, is doing less of the space. But you do have your room turnovers in there, so it should be turning over the room pretty rapidly and sucking the smell out. So if you use these, that'll make a huge difference in your smell. One more thing, because it's in the same bag. We're talking about sinks. You do a daily clean of your sink with any of the germicidal disinfectants, and all three that we'll talk about are all three germicidal disinfectants for the daily. They would all work. But if you have a little bit of grungy in your sink, like you get some residue from where water's just nasty, these are nice clean room scrub sponges that you could use weekly or monthly or whatever to help get some of that off if you're having trouble with your sink, or some of the things you're dumping out might be sticky or whatever. This is a great little sponge that Contec makes. The other disinfectant I do want to mention, because I think right now I think for your daily clean in your hoods, what are you currently using in a non-hazardous room?
I still use Paradox.
You're using Paradox. You're using Paradox. And so that's an absolutely fine choice, because in the sterile make sure it's the sterile Paradox, but that is fine for daily as well as monthly, or you can do weekly as best practice. But if you don't like the smell, another option would be the TD1, because it smells like just ethyl alcohol. So it doesn't have the vinegar smell to it, and it comes in the sterile version. So not many disinfectants come in sterile, and this one does. So this would be a good choice if you wanted a non-odor product for your daily clean. This would be a good choice that you could use inside your hood. You could also use it on your countertops, your pass-throughs, all that, your sinks, and your floors. The only thing with this one that is unique is you cannot walk on it when it's wet. So you got to mop yourself out of the room and let it dry thoroughly before you walk across it, or it becomes slippery. So that is the only secret nuance to this one. It is TB1 3300, and the TB1 is because it's a 1 minute dwell. So it's a secret in the name of it. If the Board of Pharmacy comes in and says, what's the dwell time, it's in the name. So that makes it easy to remember. This is also a low residue product, except for on the floor. If you walk across it, it will be slippery, but it's a great product for a choice for the daily clean. If you wanted a sterile disinfectant for in your hood or PEC that doesn't have a fragrance, that would be a good choice. And then the other choice that can't be in the hood because it doesn't come in sterile is Preamp Plus, which is hydrogen peroxide, accelerated hydrogen peroxide. It breaks down to oxygen and water, so super safe for you for daily exposure, and you could use it outside the hood for your daily clean on your counters, your floors, your sinks, your pass-throughs, and any high-touch surfaces like light switches, doorknobs, barcode scanners, keyboards, whatever you're touching on the regular should be cleaned daily. So this is a great choice because it's super safe and no PP even required because it's so safe, oxygen and water essentially. And it's also a 1 minute dwell for everything. So keep that in mind. So we were talking earlier about the mops. So this is a new mop that just came out for floor cleaning. You're currently using Where did my other one
I think it's under those pillars right there.
go? Oh, there we go. This is what you're currently using, and it's a great mop, works well for floors. It has a nice texture, like a wash rag almost, so it picks up dirt and hair and gross contamination off the floor. This also is a really nice newer version that comes in a stainless steel. It's got a magnet. Will you hold that, Mark? It comes apart with a magnet, so you can easily put the two pockets on the sides, and then it does that. And it's got this new lay flat technology, so if you wanted to do your baseboards, it's real easy to go across your baseboard and get it to stay up. If you wanted to go do your baseboards around the room or clean whatever, it stays. And then it also is great for doing your floors. You will start, when you do your floors, whether you're doing the daily or the monthly clean, you start in the back of the room and work your way towards the door. When you do any cleaning, you're always going to go cleanest to dirtiest. Ceilings, walls, floors, back of the room towards the door, or back of the hood towards the front of the hood, or ceilings, walls, and floor of the hood, same as you would do the room. So you would just start in the back of the room, if this was the back corner, and you just do kind of an S shape, and you can just basically mop yourself out of the room. And this, even when it doesn't have disinfectant, it's going to pick up. See how it goes to this side's way dirtier than this side because I did it in a kind of an S shape. So it's going to pull all the dirt to one side, and you want to pull all the dirt towards the door and pull it out of the room basically, so that you're not just smearing it back and forth. If you do this number, which your teenagers may at home do or whatever, all you're doing is smearing the dirt around and just pushing it around. If you do the S shape, you're going to pull it more, and you're going to mop yourself out of the room. And you can, this also bends flat, so you can get up underneath things and whatever, and it'll go easily. So either one of these mops are interchangeable. They're both called a micro cinch, but it comes in a polypropylene where you press the red button to unlock it, or you've got the big magnet and you can unlock it.
And how do you get that to hold its position again? So that
It has what's called a lay flat, and so it'll just stay flat and rigid.
The older version didn't have the lay flat.
Yeah, the older version didn't have it. And this one doesn't do that. So this one flops around. So this is still a great mop, and most of my customers use it because it's been around forever. This is a newer version. If you want something that's more of a lay flat, then we have this. Either one is perfectly acceptable. We have a stainless steel pole that's available that I recommend for the daily floor mop. And you can just leave the mop attached to the pole and then just grab it and go do your floors every day. And then we also have this pole, which I have, that I'm holding, that I recommend for the monthly clean because it's super, super lightweight because it's aluminum. And we have a new, what's it made out of again?
Fiberglass.
Fiberglass. And it's super lightweight and super, super durable. It would be really hard to break that mop.
Got it.
Yep.
Sister hurt her arm trying to help her.
Yeah, I cracked my shoulder, and so I am a little bit one-armed now. So that's your floor mopping, just because I already had it on there. And then if you want to do your monthly, you guys were having trouble with this mop because you had the older version. So I still would highly recommend this mop for ceilings and walls. And I'm going to leave you a going away present, and I'm going to leave you mine today, because you had the older version that had a different number on it. We threw them away, and this one has that same lay flat technology. So it should pop off, but it should stay on. You were having trouble with it falling off, and I think the other one just was not the right size. So all of Context mops, they're super smart. They put 4 holes, so all the mop heads will fit. The other one was in the other 2 holes, and then this one goes in these holes. So it all mops will fit. All handles will fit either mop. And then this also, you have the white one that unscrews, which is exactly like this, just an older version, so you can extend it to reach the floor, the ceiling. And then you're going to just tilt this so that you can easily do your ceiling. I'm not going to touch your ceiling because I've had too many things fall in on me, but you're going to start in the very back corner, and you're going to work your way cleanest to dirtiest. So you're going to go kind of across the ceiling in unidirectional overlapping strokes. And if you do it kind of like this, where you have it this way, you'll have a lot less of it drip on you too. So you're going to start in the back of the room and just do overlapping strokes all the way to the door. You can use the ceiling tiles because most of the time you have like little, same as out here. So you could go like do the first 2 tiles and then stop and do like to that direction, and then start kind of overlap that, and then do maybe these 2, and then do the last one. So you can do like a section, so you don't have to walk as much, but you want to make sure you just cover the whole entire room. So let's say we've all had fun and painted a room before, I'm sure, at some point in our lives. So just imagine that the room is pink and you're trying to paint it purple. So you're just trying to apply the disinfectant to everywhere so that you didn't miss any spots. So that whole pink room now becomes a purple room. So if you just think of it that way, that kind of helps you envision what you're trying to accomplish, and just doing it as best you can from the back of the room to the door, to the front of the room.
Including windows and doors and door
Right.
frames and things like
And
that.
you want to start in the cleanest room and work your way towards the ante room, and then towards the dirty side of the ante room. If you're garbed up, you can cross across the clean room to the dirty side and back and forth while you're cleaning. You just have to make sure you change your garb and all that before you go to mix. You don't want to be on the dirty side of the ante room, going all back and forth and then go into the clean room. You want to stay on that side. And then when you go to do your walls, you can just tilt this and you can go right down your walls and do your walls. This is a narrow area. And you want to get almost to the baseboards, but not quite, or Contact likes to say about the width of the mop. So down to about here, and do your walls, and going down, starting at the top, go all the way down, and then when you get to the bottom, you can go across. And then at the end, you can take this and go along all your baseboards and get your baseboards, and then this for your baseboards, or you can do that with the other mop when you do your floors and go around and do all your baseboards at the end. But you want to do your ceilings, your walls, and I forgot to mention irregular surfaces. So anything like temperature sensors, light switches, anything that sticks out that you can't clean with a flat surface, you need to take a wipe and wet the wipe and go in and clean those things and clean kind of around them so that you get those clean, so that when you go and do that wall, you can go kind of down to that and around it, but this will have been cleaned. Either do your ceilings and do any irregular surfaces on the ceilings and do your irregular surface on your walls and then your walls, or do the walls with a mop and then go back and do your regular surface. But just make sure you get everything in the room needs to be touched with the Paradox once a month because it kills everything. And you want to kill everything in that room so that you make sure that your patients are safe.
And that includes equipment and bins and shelves.
Right. And so you're
Outside of hoods.
You've done your ceilings and walls. Now you're going to go and do everything in the room. So you're going to do any carts you have. You're going to do the top. You're going to do the underneath. You're going to do the legs. I heard somebody saying that. You're going to make sure you do all your legs, your wheels. The North Carolina Board of Pharmacy did a conference call with Contech, and they look at wheels and they look at cords. Because if your wheels are dirty, you haven't been doing as good a job cleaning. So they're spot checking you when they go around. So make sure you're cleaning your cords, your wheels, everything in the room. You're cleaning the back of your hood, the sides, all the outside, the top, everything once a month. If you have chairs in there or stools, you're going to do the tops, underneath, the stem, the footrest, the wheels, all of it. So everything at some point should be touched with the Paradox, and then you mop yourself out of the room at the end.
Would you say if you're doing the outside of a hood, it's metal with Paradox, do you need to rinse it with alcohol then, or not necessarily?
If it's the stainless steel, it's a good idea to go back and do a rinse step.
But if
just
it's
to
like
extend
coated?
the life so it won't corrode. That's up to y'all. Like
Okay.
what, if you have some lower grade stainless steel, then maybe you don't have to worry about it. But that expensive stainless steel that you have in clean rooms, it's definitely worth a rinse step with alcohol to really extend the life. So if you have a garbing bench, carts, or like your sink, anything that's stainless steel, a rinse step would be really good to help remove residue. So it's one thing, it makes it shinier so you don't see the residue, but also it'll help extend the life. And then windows, you're going to clean those just like your door. Last time I was here, we trained EVS and it was super cloudy, but it looks spectacular now compared to the last time. So you can remove residue off the door with either just sterile water or sterile alcohol, or you can just wait till it dries and then go in there with a dry wipe and just a little elbow grease will also remove the residue. But sterile alcohol probably is your best bet on windows as well. Any questions about the monthly clean or the disinfectants or how to use those or the mops?
Why is that mop head better for the walls and ceiling?
It's because it has that lay flat. So this one, if you try to do this ceilings and walls with this, see how that does that? It's really hard to get it to stay flat when you're going across the ceiling. And
Well, I mean the actual spongy part of the mop.
And the other thing is this will hold a lot more disinfectant, so it'll really make so you won't have to keep re-wetting your mop often. And one thing I forgot to mention, do not ever squirt your disinfectant on the floor and smush it around with a mop. You'll use way too much, and you'll have too much smell, too much residue, too much of everything, and a lot more residue. You want to always pour your disinfectant onto your mop head or onto your wipe. So always pour onto the wipe or the mop head, because Paradox is a potent oxidizer, so if it touches a spore or a bacteria, it will immediately kill it. You don't have to drown it. Just a little of this goes a long way. So it should be wet to the touch. You've got on gloves, so what you want to see is it glistening on the surface, just glistening, like on the, you should be able to see it most of the time on the wall, but for sure on the stainless you'll be able to see it glistening. And then same thing, just follow it with sterile alcohol.
So it shouldn't be dripping or puddling or
should not be
anything like
dripping.
that. Yeah, okay.
And then you're going to do the exact same thing we just talked about for your daily clean. When you go to do your, you have a mop of a wipe around here. It's open. So when you go to do your daily clean, you're just going to grab a wipe. Let's open this one. We'll pretend like this is a dry wipe, because I don't have a dry wipe open. So you'll take and you can quarter fold this and then just wet it with your disinfectant. And you want to do unidirectional overlapping strokes on your countertops, same thing in your hood or your PEC. Come on in. So we talked about the daily clean, again, is your high touch surfaces, your horizontal, like your carts, your tables, whatever in there. If you have a garbing bench, anything that's a horizontal surface where dust could accumulate, you're going to do daily. Sinks, pass-throughs, and floors. Is that what y'all are doing now on the daily? Do you have a pass-through?
Yes.
Are y'all cleaning that daily? Okay, just make sure, because that is definitely required. And then, what are you using for your PEC? Are you using a sterile dry wipe, or are you using an easy reach tool? What are y'all cleaning your PECs with now, your hood, in your non-hazardous area?
Non-hazardous, I just use wipers.
You use a sterile dry wipe? So this is the ones that we have. Is this what you're using currently? So the 25 pack. The Eco Wipes are the non-sterile ones, the 9x9 that are in a huge stack like this. This is the sterile sword is the one that.
Yeah, we only have the big packs.
Does it have the individual packs in plastic inside?
Yeah, they
That's
do.
it.
When you
Yeah,
open
sterile,
it,
yeah.
they come like this.
Right.
Yep. So
I
this
do,
is the
I
sterile.
know.
Yeah, we don't have those.
We don't have over at Big Dude.
Those are what we have.
Oh, that's next to non-sterile.
These are
Oh,
what we
yeah.
have.
Those are the
This
non-sterile
is
ones.
non-sterile.
Right.
So soon this will be navy, which it is now, and these will be
We're not supposed to be
teal.
using those?
Not in the PC.
Not in the PEC.
Well, that's exciting.
That's why we do these in service. See?
So is that why they come in smaller?
That's
Because,
exactly why, and they're packed wrapped.
yeah, so you open it for the day, but you wouldn't leave it there for days?
Yep, so you open these and this is sterile inside, and so you have 25 that are sterile. This comes in a new /10, so now there's a new pack of 10. So how many of these do you use if you use the sterile wipe in your hood when you clean?
I use like maybe 4 or 5.
So then you've
I
got,
mean, between cleaning the hoods and cleaning the compounder, I probably would use 15, 20.
okay.
That's because you have a
What's that?
TPN machine.
Because we have the
for those.
compounder.
Oh,
That's
okay.
the thing, like we have the TPN compounder, we're gonna wipe around all that stuff.
So-
bucket.
So
Oh, yeah.
the
Easily
25
in
may
one
be a
day.
better deal for you guys, because y'all have the compounder, or you can have the 10 or
I
whichever.
use something like that, I use like maybe 4 or 5.
So the 10 pack might be better for
Just
you
to
guys.
clean the hood, yeah.
Yeah.
Because once you open it, then you're in an ISO 5. So ISO 5 is not sterile. Everybody thinks that means it's sterile. It is not. It's lower particles inside there. ISO 5, which is your hood, versus the room it's in is usually ISO 7, or it is ISO 7. And then your ante-room can be ISO 7 or 8. So each of those is lesser and lesser particles as you get towards the door. So you always, again, clean from the hood to the room that it's in to the ante-room towards the door. So these are an acceptable choice for your daily clean and your non-hazardous. You can do the Paradox or you can do the TD1, both sterile on a sterile wipe. The other thing would be the Easy Reach tool. These come in a 4-pack right now, so you would use one for your disinfectant, either of the 2 sterile disinfectants followed by sterile alcohol. Those you would do also followed by sterile alcohol. So sterile disinfectant followed by sterile alcohol. When you clean your hood or PEC, you're going to do the bar and hooks first, because that's the irregular surfaces like we talked about in this room. And then you're going to do the top, so unidirectional overlapping strokes. Context says from left to right, but as long as you're going from one direction to the other, depending on what handed you are. And then the back. Most of the time your filter, if it's a non-hazardous, is in the back, and the hazardous usually in the top. But either way, you're going to still clean where the filter is. You're just never going to spray it. And you do want to have this wet enough, or your wipe wet enough, that you clean that screen that's covering that filter, and then you do your two ends. If it's an open hood where you can go outside, so let's say that my hood ends here, you could go this direction, or a context thing now is they like best practice is to go this direction, so you can kind of go faster, and then when you get over here to the edge, you slow down so that you don't come out of the ISO 5 and ISO 7 in the dirty air, take it back in. Does that make sense? So you're going to clean over here on the ends and not come outside, so you'll...
I think Alexa's covering that in her media fill now.
Yeah,
that-
and then you'll do your deck last. So the deck is like, it's equivalent to your floor, the dirtiest, so you're going to do it last. And then take this, and if you're doing paradox, you're going to put it in a used baggie like we talked about to contain your odors, and then it can go into your trash, or the one with alcohol can just go straight in the trash. If you're doing the TV one, it can go in the trash, and the alcohol one can go in the trash. There's no really smell to those. What about in your HD space? What are you cleaning that room with daily for your countertops, your floors, your sink? Or I guess you don't have a sink in there, but what are you cleaning your HD space with?
The counters.
So what I would recommend, I know it's not as wonderful a smell, but I would recommend the Paradox for your daily clean in there, because it's going to kill the chemo and kill all the spores, bacteria, and everything. I wouldn't use any disinfectant in my HD space except Paradox because of that. It's keeping you safe from residues. So that's the trade-off of the odor, but also in that room, it's a negative pressure room. It's sucking the air out. So you shouldn't really have nearly the smell in that room that you have in your non-hazardous room. Is that true? Do y'all feel?
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is an easier sell for that room because of that negative pressure. So just consider that this is also keeping you safe. So it makes a really good choice for your daily clean for your PEC every day, and also your countertops and your floors and everything in that room. I know you're using a closed system transfer device, you're wearing a chemo gown and gloves and all that, but if there's any residue in there, this will take care of that. Are there any type of workarounds where you ever don't use your closed system on anything that you're mixing? So there's always a potential there could be some vapors or some residue still in that room, and again, that's keeping you safe. If you want to do the other product, I would at least use this once a week, if not more. So just keep that in mind. So that's up to you, but
Kind of
this
a best practice.
is a
right.
best practice for
It
daily.
has the the deactivation step for the chemo, is
Right.
what you're saying, so it's
Right.
a little bit better in that regard in a chemo
Does
room.
that come like, we don't have any in wipes, we only have them like that.
Wipes will eventually come. We're working on those.
I know, be so.
Actually, they're really white.
This time we really are working on them. They're close,
Yeah,
but
so-
but this on an easy reach pad would be your best bet, because then you have also distance from the chemo. You're not touching it with your hand. If there was a hole in your glove, I know you're wearing two, but still, this also you have that glass that's really hard to reach the corner. So this gives you where you can reach and have distance. So this is a really,
The hot pens are very expensive, so they don't like for us to use them.
they are expensive.
They aren't.
Necessary.
This, I think, is a good choice though for your HD space, because most of us, I know there's a lot of women in here, we're vertically challenged sometimes. I am only 5'4", and a lot of those PECs, I can't reach that top corner without leaning in. And you should never ever put any of your body, especially your face that's not fully covered, inside your PEC. It should stay outside. So if you can't reach that top corner without leaning in, then you need a tool. You don't
You need
want
one?
to shed particles.
I think we've talked about it before, we've never
Yeah,
gotten
the
to
only
it.
thing that goes in should be your sterile glove and your low lengthening frock or chemo gown inside the PEC. If you're having to lean in to reach, you need a tool.
It's true.
So I get that they are expensive.
No, but you were saying use them outside, weren't you?
No, inside your PEC,
Oh.
just the
I
PEC.
thought you meant on the counter.
Yeah,
So
and they
you don't
come,
have-
soon these are gonna be awesome in a 2-pack. one for your disinfectant, and then one for your alcohol, and then you're done, instead of having 4 in a pack now.
You do 2 Paradox and 1 alcohol in each.
Yeah, so in the HD, that is true, 'cause you'll have,
Get 2 passes of a Paradox.
Yeah,
So
and
for
so-
that, for the HD room, it's still good.
but you'll have a 2-pack and then they use
Yes,
3.
yes.
Well, actually,
Oh,
no,
that's
wait,
right.
no,
They can
because
use
you
the
use the
pad.
same pad,
Same pad.
so, I forgot about that, I had to think.
Don't.
So the way that Contact has written it, you wet this, you do your, and when you do your bar in irregular surfaces with this, you can take it off and kind of put it on your hand and do your bar
Actually
and your
flip it
hooks.
over and use the side and have it
Yeah,
not dirty.
you can do a wipe, but a lot of times you don't have a wipe and these, you just have these. So you could do your bar and your hooks with this, and then you stretch it on here, the fat side first and then the skinny side, and then get it on here, and then you wet it again, and you'll do the top, the back, the 2 ends, and then the deck. Then for that second one, you wet it again with Paradox. You do the same pad. You can do it the second time. So then the second pad would be with the alcohol. So Contact validated that both of them can be done with the same pad.
So use one pad for.
So,
One pad for both passes
so
with the
when you're
Paradox.
taking alcohol jars, putting it on one pad.
You
and
don't need to
smearing
do
it
2
around again.
passes with Paradox. That's
So
only for
this is
cleanup.
gonna
It's only
kill
for
whatever
all
is
you
still
do.
on here. When you did the deck, which was considered the dirtiest, when you re-wet it, it just killed everything that was on there, so when you go and do it again.
So that-
I thought the same thing when I heard it, but it's validated by the manufacturer, so you can do it that
So what's the
way.
difference between doing that or using a sterile pad like this to clean, let's say? Not saying I do, but I'm just asking.
Cause that's non-sterile and this was
But
sterile when you put it in
the
there.
Paradox makes it sterile, right?
I agree.
No, I don't know. I'm
I'm-
asking.
I honestly, personally,
I'm trying
don't
to
think there
understand.
should be a sterile mandate inside the hood because this does kill everything.
Okay, that's
But
a lot.
there are other
Right,
daily
put it in
disinfectants that are
particles.
sterile, and so they wrote it that your pad and your disinfectant have to be
So
sterile.
we can use the same pad twice around the same hood.
For
Right.
disinfecting.
And the reason you can't use
For
that,
deactivating
And
and
decontaminating.
even though in your mind what you just said makes sense, you can't use that
No, I was
because
just
it says
questioning.
you must use sterile. So that's the reason why, but.
As far as the pad, you're
yeah,
talking about the pad,
yeah,
yeah.
or the-
I think
the
we have used those,
non-sterile
but
wipe.
I know we should, best
So
practice
just make
surely
sure
would
that
be
y'all
to
get
use
away
that.
from that practice of using that non-sterile, because the board comes in here, they are all over this whole sterile thing, which is why Contact did this whole rebranding, navy non-sterile, teal
You've been
sterile.
using that for years.
we use those and
You've
then
been
we
using
use
them.
the
Right,
alcohol.
but USP changed last October to the new version, the 2023 version, came out in October, and so it's been implemented now, and so that requires sterile. So what you were doing in the past is no longer, unfortunately, acceptable. So we have to embrace change.
Can I ask a
I would
question?
only need, never
Never
mind.
mind, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking, I forgot, because for our alcohol, because she was saying, I'll put the alcohol on and do that, but for our alcohol, we do have specific sterile wipes, but we do stick our head in there to get
Pre-saturated.
that done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and these wipes are awesome that Contact has with their packaging where it's easy to open it and then push it closed and get all the air out.
Did you show them the date square?
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about next. Contact has done some new validation on how long this stuff is good once opened. Because if it's sterile, once I open it, is it still sterile? Not really, but, so the 2 liquids that are sterile, Paradox and TB1 liquid, are good for 6 months once open, and also sterile alcohol, which I don't have I have it in my bag somewhere, but sterile alcohol liquid is also 6 months. So all 3 liquids sterile, 6 months once open. If you decide to use the TB1 wipes, sterile, which I don't think y'all are, but if you did, those are 14 days once opened. And then both of the sterile wipes, alcohol wipes, whether it's the little 4x4 for critical sites, which we'll talk about in a minute, or these, they are good for 9 days once open. So again, Contact has a new little spot here that's easy to write on with the new packaging. So you can easily write the open date and the use by date.
I wish, does Content print the date on the label? I wish they did.
They've been talking about having
Yeah.
the
That'd be
stickers made
super
or
helpful.
something like
Yeah.
that. But the new
Because, I mean,
area, you
we
can
write on it with a Sharpie,
But
and
you
then
have to
when
remember.
you wipe it with alcohol,
That's
it just
changing
goes
the
away.
packaging.
The new
There's
packaging,
actual braille space to write in the date, so it will not varnish. It's varnish, top varnish free.
it's hard to see it, but
Yeah.
there's actually a little square, and it's not as
Varnish.
shiny. and it's varnish free, so less shiny. So when you write there, the Sharpie should not wipe off on the new packaging.
Well, every day's Christmas.
I wish they could just print the BUD on there, like
The-
date for
the
9
three
days
things
afterwards,
changed with
after
the new
opening.
packaging, the color thing, the navy or teal, the varnish-free area that you can write on, and then also the barcode scanning on everything so that you can easily barcode if you wanted to track what you're using.
Do we even carry non-sterile Paradox, or is all our Paradox sterile?
I don't even know anymore. I assume
I
we're
don't
always,
even
I
know
think
what
we're
you mean by
ordering
that.
all sterile,
It's
but
all sterile.
Most
Yeah,
people
all
are
What
doing-
about like the bulk bottles? Are those considered sterile?
I have to check, but my
Is all
assumption
your
is
Paradox
everybody's wearing sterile.
have 2 bags on it when you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, even
It's
the
all
bulk
sterile.
bottles all have 2 bags.
Most of my customers are using sterile only, so they don't grab the wrong one, and also because they don't have to have a case of this and a case of that because of lack of
All I know
space.
is they tell me it's sterile, but I don't know where it would say.
Turn the bottle around, let me see the label on the other side.
I don't think that one is.
No, turn around.
Hey, what?
Does it have silver?
Who knows?
That's not sterile.
That is non-sterile, because see, it has no silver.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
See the
it's
silver
not
foil?
Well,
But it
bummer,
does
because we're
come in
filling
2
that
bags.
in there.
Yeah.
So we're not using sterile
So
in our
that is
hoods right
another
now.
thing, stop doing that. Never, ever
Stop.
pour disinfectant from one bottle to another.
Well, this is.
That is a joint commission thing, because you're losing your lot traceability and your expiration dates and all.
There we go, so don't use these anymore.
Don't buy
I,
gallons.
I personally hate gallons, especially when you're talking about sterile product, because that's a long time that's open and, you know, stuff's flying around the air, it can go in. It's way better to use the smaller ones. Plus, again, a lot of females, and some of us are very strong because we do boot camp or whatever, but some of us are not, and they're super heavy. That is really heavy versus this. And especially in your hood, that is super big to put in your hood. This is way better. But definitely do not
Non-sterile
pour
too.
out of, that is non-sterile.
So
I'm
we,
from here.
we were told everything we had is sterile now.
Ooh.
Doesn't look like she's been ordering the sterile.
So what's the red dot on that?
The red dot is when contact
That's
sends it
sterile.
off to the sterilizer, it's some color, and it turns red when the ethylene oxide or whatever sterilizes it. It changes color so they can tell. So that's another way to tell that it's a sterile liquid, is that it will always have the red dot. TV1 will.
Are the small bottles in there also
They
non-sterile?
said it was that.
Yeah, that's what she just told me.
Okay.
So, joint commission.
So Joint Commission said you cannot pour from one bottle to another, and probably the State Board of Pharmacy would probably deem you on that as well.
Why do they even make gallons then?
I have some
Well,
customers who are
this is-
super cheap and just want whatever's cheapest. They don't care that it's hard to carry around. The person who makes the budgeting decision doesn't realize how hard it is putting that in a hood or
A little bitty,
carrying that thing
little bitty
around.
mop this
Yeah.
size.
Yes.
Yeah,
Trying to pour a tablespoon out, you know?
yeah. It's really hard, like you said, to pour on an easy reach pad because it wants to
There's no way.
It wants to
Yeah.
pour out faster the bigger it is. So, yeah. Most of my customers use sterile only. I have some that have huge clean rooms that buy non-sterile just for the monthly clean. And then sometimes that in a gallon might make
Just
sense.
check yours too, make sure. I don't know who's ordering.
I'm sure ours looks
get the
exactly
same.
like
Oh,
ours.
it's all
It's the green
non-sterile.
stuff. Yeah.
No.
It's all got the green out.
Yeah,
that's
label.
it.
So what,
So-
what's the, but the label color's green with silver if it's sterile.
Right now it's
Yeah.
the
I know at
green
one
with
point
silver.
we told
Going
procurement
forward,
twice
it will
sterile,
be-
but they may not have stuck with
It'll
it.
be teal going forward. And it'll be navy for non-sterile and teal. So it'll be easier to tell because
I don't, they
You'll get
probably
used to
need the right number to order it. That's
Yeah.
probably what she.
in 6 months you'll be so used to the teal and navy, it'll make sense to you once you start seeing it
Yeah,
all.
Teal is
She
the
just
sterile
needs to
one.
order
You're
it.
gonna upgrade?
These just came to my house the other day, and they were
Navy's
still this
not.
color instead of navy and
Navy
teal.
Navy's
is
not.
I was so
No
shocked.
name.
For me?
And the alcohol,
Navy is
I got
so
alcohol.
We should go in with a Sharpie and color all of our
Make it so
all of our
strong.
Paradox.
So two
Color
other
navy.
things real quick to talk about. The other ways dirt gets in there is you. So I always use this analogy because I'm a huge Snoopy freak, but the little guy Pigpen on Snoopy, when you are cleaning, you are shedding about 1 million particles per minute. Even though you're garbed up, you still have skin exposed. So you are the dirtiest thing in the clean room. So garbing is super important. Washing your hands up to your elbows, using a low linting wipe, pat yourself dry, not scrubbing so that particles are flying, but pat yourself dry. You have to do running water with a nail pick under your nails, no nail polish, no nails. And then make sure you're following your facility protocols with garbing, but basically you should be stepping one shoe cover over the clean, and then, so when you step across the line of demarcation, you have your shoe covers on, they only touch the clean side. And then, so making sure you're garbing properly, and then all your hair is up and covered if you need to like wear a hair thing or whatever, but
Glasses.
no makeup, you know, all that kind of stuff. Men need to be wearing a beard cover or whatever, fully covering any facial hair. Glasses are a new thing that's a big hot button, so your frames need to be wiped down every time you garb. And then we have these little special wipes that you can use on your fancy lenses that will not ruin your lenses, that are on our Tasty website, that are little lens wipes. But any of the 3 disinfectants are appropriate for cleaning your frames, but they will scratch your lenses properly. So these are great for lenses.
Yeah, it's easy to get it from your frames onto your lenses.
So you need to have a little area that you set up where you can wipe down your glasses before you
They
go
do,
in.
they do in here, but I don't know
Okay.
if we have been using the Tasty ones.
Yeah, and there are other lens wipes. That's just one of the ones out there, and we have them if y'all need them. And also we have the nail picks. If you need nail picks, they come in a little jar. They need a better dispenser, but we have those. So proper garbing is super important because you are shedding particles. So the frock and all that is pushing that to the floor so it doesn't go into your hood when you're standing there mixing into your meds. The chemo gown is a whole different thing. That's protecting you from the drug and your extra pair of booties that you're wearing and all that. So make sure when you take that off, you're pulling it and then touching like not around in here where you could have chemo, and that you're not touching it with your bare hands, that you take it off, roll it inward and then roll it up and carefully place it in your yellow trace chemo waste, take off your outer shoe cover, step onto the clean area. And then make sure when you go home, change out of those scrubs and shoes. Don't wear all that stuff in your house. C. diff and all kinds of nastinesses in hospitals and chemo residue. So get out of the habit of wearing that stuff when you hug your loved ones when you get home and tracking all over your house. Just something on the side. The other way things get in is through that door. You gotta go through the door, but don't stand there and hold it open while you talk to your friends. Close the door, because the filters are trying to remove everything out of the air. And then the last thing that I think is one of the most important is when you take stuff in. When it comes out of cardboard, it needs to be white while wearing gloves. So even if you're putting it into the pass-through and you're standing on this side, it says must be white while wearing gloves. So are y'all white, when you wipe it down and put it in the pass-through, are you wearing gloves? Because that's gonna be something I think the board's gonna look for, because it says must, and they're gonna look for that. So it doesn't need to be a sterile glove if you're out here and wiping it down and putting it in a pass-through. You can also stand on the dirty side and wipe it down and set it onto the clean side, onto a garbing bench or onto a table or a cart or wherever on the clean side. Of course, then you're garbed up anyway, so you're gonna have gloves on. Your best bet, what you should use is Paradox. That's a tough sell because of the lovely fragrance. I personally like Triumph Plus wipes because it breaks down to oxygen and water, so it's super safe, and it comes in a canister wipe. Pull the wipe, and then you just thoroughly wipe down the outer packaging of the drug or whatever you're taking in. Everything gets wiped down and comes out of cardboard. Rats and roaches run around on cardboard, pooping and peeing on it. It's got all kinds of particles. It's disgusting. So all that's on your medications, and your wipes and all your stuff you take in must be wiped thoroughly when they come out of cardboard. Or your pharmaceutical tubs. There was one of those ISMPs where spores grew in those tubs. They never wash those things. So everything needs to be wiped down that comes across the line of demarcation or into your pass-through. Then when it goes into ISO 5 into your hood, it must be wiped the second time. That's where these are awesome. You can grab a pre-saturated wipe and then do the second wipe down step before it goes into your ISO 5 hood or PEC or your biological safety cabinet. If it has an outer wrap like Contact does, you can open that and drop it straight onto the surface without that second wipe down step because it's already sterile inside here. And that's the same thing for some of your syringes or some of your other things that have an outer wrap. You can skip that second wipe down step because it's got the outer wrap. But if it doesn't, it needs to be wiped a second time with alcohol to remove residue. Or if it's been sitting in the room, you may still want to wipe it down good. Like if it's been in a storage bin or whatever, you may want to then wipe it down with alcohol, even if it has the overwrap. And then the third place is critical sites. So your the stems on your IV bags, your vial tops, ampules if you're using them, need to all be wiped. And these are really good practice because those little wipes like that are not sterile on the outside. And remember what we said, ISO 5, everything should be sterile. And those are not sterile, so these are. And these come 60 per pack. So
But how long will they stay sterile once that pack's
these are
open?
good, like we said, for 9 days once opened.
Do they really stay sterile that long?
If you're using good aseptic technique where I didn't even realize this little thing here on the thing, but there's actually a picture there showing you how to do it. But you take your thumb and you pull the whole thing across. I haven't even opened these yet. And you pull it all the way across, and it shouldn't get those little streaks like it used to where it would separate. You pull one out and then you push it closed and you try to get as much air out as possible, and that's how you do it. At the end of the day, you can put them upside down and leave them over to the edge. When you come in the next morning, it'll keep those from rolling up and it'll be nice and juicy on top to use. So these are excellent for critical sites. Does that make sense? Because that's a really important step, is wiping down what goes in. Because it's either you, if you have any positive air or surface samples, it's either you or what you're bringing in that's bringing it a little bit the door when it opens. But so those things will really help keep things down in there. Does that make sense? Did I forget anything?
No, that was great.
So, any questions about any of that? There are no dumb questions. This is your chance. So please do not be shy if you have a burning question or something you've always wondered, is this the way I should be doing it? I do it this way. My coworker does it this way. Which of us is right? You don't have to call out their name.
Linda,
There's no way of doing it.
so earlier when you were talking about like cleaning the sink, you said to use the Paradox and then,
I would, you can
You
use
said it
any,
was behind
whatever
the-
daily cleaner you're using for your
Okay.
daily clean, you can use on the sink. So all of your, outside the hood, you can use a non-sterile product or a sterile product outside the hood. And you just apply it to a wipe, and then you're supposed to use, direct scrub. In a sink, you're probably gonna be doing a little more scrubbing. But, and then if it gets grody, we have those little, Cleanroom scrub sponges.
It's stainless steel, the silver stainless steel needs to be rinsed, Paradox needs to be rinsed off.
yeah.
So you can
alcohol
either
or
use
the
water
sterile
or
water.
alcohol.
Okay.
If it's the hood, it has to be sterile
That was my
water or
question.
sterile alcohol,
Contact
but
did a webinar where they said pour a little bit like in the drain and let it sit for a minute so it kills whatever's in there. And then thoroughly rinse the sink really well.
so it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be alcohol, it could be water or alcohol.
Okay,
But it has
that
to be
was my
sterile
question,
in the
yeah.
hood,
Okay.
which the stainless steel.
Right.
And where do you store this? Can it be stored in the?
So that's a good question.
Great.
So it's got a little hook. You can hang it on one of the hooks. I mean a little loop, so you can hang it on one of the hooks. You could just prop it in the
in
corner
the clean room?
out of your way.
Inside the
Inside the
PEC.
PEC.
Inside the, oh.
Like in the very corner.
Mhm.
Some people are concerned about first air, so if you want to like lay it flat or whatever, or you can take it out, but when you put it back in, must be wiped down thoroughly before you put it back in. And I forgot to mention, one of the things I did forget is all your hardware has to be cleaned before and after use. So you have to wipe down your easy reach tool before you use it each day, and then again after you use it. And same thing with your mop handles and your mop frames, have to all be wiped down before and after use.
Wipe down with what?
With a disinfectant or sterile IPA. It doesn't say, it just says must be cleaned before and after use. I think a disinfectant might be a good choice to get, like, clean them, really
So
clean
should
them.
that stay in our hoods?
I see some gross
Absolutely.
mops
Yeah.
in my day.
Yeah.
Some of the
It
mops
should
I
stay
see
in
out
the
there
hood.
are so coated in white residue where they are not being cleaned. If it gets that bad, throw it away and get a new one. I mean, these should last a few years, but if it gets that dirty,
But the
remember
daily
the
wipe,
board
the
is
wipe down is critical to keep them.
yeah, remember the North Carolina Board of Pharmacy's coming in and they're looking for dirty stuff, and when they see those dirty mops, that would be something easy to, so anyway, any questions about anything else? If you think of something, don't be shy, you can always tell Alicia and she can email us and we will get you an answer. This contact has
Fountain
enough
of
white
knowledge.
papers, we could wallpaper this room with all their white papers that they have done. The one on just that, how long these things are good once open is 15 pages long of really good studies that they did.
I've done a lot of copying and
So that you don't
pasting
have to
into our
do all that.
documents and stuff like that, so.
So,
Any other questions?
That avert, is that bleach Oxivir? Is that what that is?
With the
bleach.
one gentleman is very
Yes.
attached
Yeah.
to his bleach
Yeah.
product.
And I may have overemphasized our use of that. It's
Yeah.
really only for Rob.
He really likes the
We keep a
bleach.
couple buckets around just for him.
I didn't even recognize. I was like, what's a vert? I don't
Yeah,
even
I
know.
I personally wouldn't use
Patricia,
any
do you
bleach
like a
product.
vert? Somebody else liked a vert. I think it might have been.
I like this.
Cassandra used
Like
to
I
like
walk
it.
in,
Okay,
I
so-
got to the point. I
Clean.
walk in the IV room. I was like,
You know it's clean.
smells clean in here.
There's three
I
people I
like
know
it.
that love the
Clean.
smell.
Rob does. Rob does not like it.
So I would never use bleach in my clean room because of what it does to your stainless steel and also to your clothes.
Yeah.
I don't want to bleach my
Mine got
new
scrubs.
scrubs I have on. So I personally would not use bleach in a clean room, but it still exists out there.
Still a
I
good
hate- I hate
cleaner.
this-
It's a
I
good
hate the
spore
smell
side.
of
It's
re-
just
regular.
I just think it
cigarettes.
smells musty and
Yeah.
yucky to me.
I
I
can
can't
smell
stand the smell of
regular
bleach. I don't use
cigarettes.
bleach in my
Can't
house
stand
hardly anymore.
I don't either.
I have a question, you may have covered, you probably did cover it, sorry, but, the sterile wipes only need to be used, we don't have to use sterile wipes to clean anything that's not the.
Only
Just
in
inside the hood.
Okay, and what was the 9-day expiration thing again? Is it 9
9 days for the sterile wipes.
9 days?
You
for
do have to
sterile
use a
wipes?
sterile wipe when it goes into ISO 5, right?
Mhm.
Those have to be
Absolutely.
sterile. When you're wiping down the stuff that goes into ISO 5,
Mhm.
they have to be sterile. So you really shouldn't buy these in non-sterile, honestly.
Right.
They should only be in sterile.
I think we use them
We
sometimes
sell
to pass
sterile,
things through and
non-sterile.
stuff.
That's fine.
But you
Free
know,
But out
pass through
here,
outside.
out here you could wipe them down with non-sterile, but you're using way less out here than in there. So honestly, the savings versus grabbing the wrong one, I don't know that I would chance it if it was me.
So what needs to be dated for 9 days? Just that.
The Pro Sats and the critical site wipes. Those two
The
things.
sterile alcohol wipes.
That's what she's waiting for you to say.
Most facilities won't have them for 9 days.
on
You
the-
probably won't either.
You're a busy place
Yeah.
here. You're going through these. You're
Usually
not
going
gonna have
up
these
by shift.
after
Half a
9
day.
days.
Oh yeah,
Right,
easily.
We're
Easy.
talking about
It's
a
all-
lot of places that are tiny little hospitals that are like 50 beds
Yeah.
or that
Ours
don't
are more
mix.
like this.
Oh yeah, see,
Well,
you're not
can we see
gonna.
that?
those
I
are
don't think
non-sterile.
those are non-sterile.
These
Those are the
raws.
non-sterile.
These are non-sterile, so we were dating non-sterile for 9 days also, and I didn't think that was.
No, but we don't. I don't know about that
Necessary?
product,
Probably
but
don't, you don't
Yeah, I
take
don't
it
know
out
that.
it's
Well,
not.
but that can't go in the hood anyway.
Yeah,
No.
it was like for like out here.
That's
I was
fine.
like,
Yeah, I mean, I use those sometimes. I'll go up and
We
clean
have
like.
this in a non-sterile.
The
If you want
Omnis
something
with
instead of
them and
that, that
stuff.
looks like a big package of wipes that you're gonna have.
that's not for the hood. So.
We have them
It's
in
not
I know,
sterile.
but still,
Yeah.
you're still gonna get
Because the dating is
contamination.
mainly
Yeah.
for sterility.
How many
Yeah.
wipes
But
are in
also
that
for
package?
dry, they would dry
75.
out too.
Absolutely.
That's a lot.
So
Absolutely.
maybe
Well,
not
and they're
just
actually
sterility.
70% sterile.
I'll be
Right.
honest,
If you kept
those
it too
wipes
long.
are great.
They
They're
be too
tops,
long.
they don't tear,
So-
they're really saturated, they're actually super nice.
Okay, so
I wish they were sterile, but they're not.
No, we have the sterile ones.
they are.
We
sterile.
do, but they're, yeah, that's true, we do
Not
have
the
that
sterile
same
ones.
brand in
Okay,
sterile
so
ones.
if you like, here's one of our wipes.